Welcome to Q&A, Social Security Disability Today. This program is brought to you by the Reeves Law Firm, representing you and your Social Security and disability needs. If you have a problem or questions regarding Social Security and disability, call attorney Anthony Reeves. Here's your host, attorney Anthony Reeves.
What does non-compliance mean? Now, I know some of you probably are saying, I know what that means, but let me kind of give you a lay of the land with regards to that. Non-compliance is a term that doctors typically use in your reports or in your medical records that indicates that you, not them, not anybody else, but you aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. In other words, they're telling you what to do and you're choosing not to do it for whatever reason. But sometimes that can be what's the word I'm looking for? It may be subject to misinterpretation. Because let's say that the non-compliance is because you were taking other medication that had you a little loopy. So it caused you not to do something. Or maybe it's because you have one problem, physical problem, that is so bad that it's preventing you from being able to effectively address the other problem. See what I mean? So sometimes non-compliance has to be taken in its proper context. Now, for a person like me, non-compliance is a huge problem. Why? Because you have you have a responsibility when you're trying to prove you're disabled to prove that you're following medical treatment. If you have a non-compliance issue, that indicates that you're not following medical treatment. So here's what I typically tell people, because almost invariably I ask them, I'm like, okay, what is this non-compliance thing? Oh, and I got to respond. And I said, okay, let me tell you how you need to address this. If non-compliance comes in your case, is it a claim killer? No, but it is an issue that may be of concern, because the idea is that if you're not complying with your doctors and doing what you're supposed to do, it's hard to say you're disabled when you're not following the treatment regimen that may keep you from being disabled. So two things I tell people to do. First, do what the doctor tells you. Easiest solution. Do what they tell you. Doctor tells you to stop smoking? Don't wean yourself off of smoking. Stop smoking. Doctor tells you to stop eating sweets? Don't say, well, instead of two bags of Skittles a day, I'm going to have just one. Bump that. Stop eating sweets. Leave the Skittles alone. That is usually my best thing. The doctor tells you need to lose weight. I suggest you figure out a way to know to track it, watch The Biggest Loser, get you a Zumba video, take your pick. But if the doctor tells you to lose weight, do what you need to do to lose weight. Now, here's the other side of the equation. That's the first thing. Second of all, if you believe that the circumstances that the doctor wrote for purposes of non-compliance in your file was in error, or maybe it needs to be clarified more, ask them to clarify it. Don't just leave it out there hanging. Explain what they mean by the non-compliance. So this way, the court can be aware that the circumstance of non-compliance is not as simple as you basically refusing to do what your doctor tells you to do. And make sure, anytime a doctor says non-compliance, you need to address with them if you're having problems with that compliance. Let me give you a good example. Let's say you're morbidly obese and you have a bad back and bad knees. But guess what? Having that kind of problem, a lot of weight on bad back and bad knees, it may be difficult for you to lose weight. So when the doctor puts non-compliance because you're not doing anything to lose weight, sit down, talk to the doctor and say, listen, it's not like I don't want to exercise. My knees and my back are killing me. What do you suggest? Because I don't want you to think I am not complying with you because I am choosing to not comply. I'm not complying because I can't, because I'm physically unable to. Make sense? And you want to make sure, and you ask the doctors to clarify that in your records. The reason why I say that is because, and I've had this discussion with some other professionals where I say, listen, the problem is that I and the judge are not sitting in front of the doctor with the client. So we don't see when the doctor takes various comments in context and puts those in the notes. The only thing we have to rely on is the treating notes from that doctor. So if the doctor says non-compliance, it does not matter if you had an in-depth discussion and really he was talking about something else and he just kind of put that there, or she just put that there to kind of address an issue. The reality is this: all the court's going to see is non-compliance. All that other communication that you said supposedly happened, if it's not on that medical record, guess what? Didn't happen. So this is where you need to really, really communicate with your doctor to make sure that they have the proper breakdown of your situation in your file. So this way, the issue of non-compliance will not hurt you. Remember, two things. One, do what your doctor tells you, and or two, if the doctor puts non-compliance, make sure they clarify if your circumstances is not the garden variety, you refusing to not do what they're to basically do what they told you to do. Trust me, you want to make sure you clarify those non-compliance issues, because you want to be able to present your version as the version the court needs to accept. You don't want the judge to look at that and see non-compliance and then come up with their own impression as to why you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Help your case by helping yourself.